And you're good to go.
Thank you. And welcome everybody this sunny day. It's beautiful out there. Okay, I would like to call the BIA Advisory Committee meeting to order. Members of the public are advised that our meetings are webcast live by the City of Hamilton and temporarily archived on the city's website. As well, a reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. I will do a roll call. Jennifer Mattern, please.
Present.
Rachel Breathwaite.
Reading.
Thank you. Christina Geisler. Oh,
I'm here. Good morning.
Carrie Jarvie.
Good morning. Present.
Good morning. Lisa Anderson. Okay. Susie Breathwaite.
Here.
Thank you. Michael Seiben. Okay. Heidi Vanderkwal.
Good morning.
Good morning. Bender Chug. Emily Burton.
Here.
Good morning. Susan Penny.
Here.
Good morning. Tracy McKinnon. Okay, we'll move on. Changes to the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair, there are no changes to the agenda.
Okay, can I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as amended?
Moved by Tracy, seconded by Rachel.
Wonderful. And it's carried. Nobody opposes. Let's move on. Declaration of interest. Are there any declaration of interest? I do not see any, so we're going to move on. Approval of the minutes, previous meeting. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of the April 13th, 2021 meeting as presented?
Moved by Susie, seconded by Christina.
Thank you. And is anybody opposing? I do not see any, and it's carried, and we're going to move on to staff presentation. Graffiti enforcement update. Kelly Beaton, acting manager of the service delivery, and Cindy Buick, student coordinator, are here with an update on graffiti enforcement. Welcome, Kelly and Cindy.
Thank you, Counselor.
Nice
right
seeing you. Nice seeing you, Kelly.
I'm no longer acting. I'm in the actual permanent role now, so that's
Oh,
perfect.
wonderful.
Yes.
We've got to change that.
Yeah, welcome everyone, and thank you for the invite. So I know times have been very trying, and a lot of people have had a lot of questions, and we haven't really had too much to update because not much changes. It just we kind of go from one color to the next and into lockdown and stay at home, and so our enforcement strategies are really focused on COVID at this time. But as you know, graffiti is very important, and so I have asked Cindy, who is the supervisor over there of that team, and the one officer is attending as well, and they're going to actually do a presentation and answer some questions, and we'll go from there. So thank you for the invite.
Thank you.
Good morning, Councillor Pauls and everybody else. Thank you so much for inviting us. So am I allowed to share the screen, or do I need permission to do that?
No, you're allowed.
Okay, perfect. So here's our graffiti presentation here. This is our slideshow here. So I'm just going to go skip to my slideshow from the beginning. So can everybody see that? Yes, thank you. Okay, so overall, I'll go back to the front. We'll just start from the front, kind of click to the so this is for you for the BIA presentation. So overall, our graffiti stats. So we didn't have students last year because of COVID. This year we were able to get 2 graffiti students. One has just recently left the city of Hamilton, so I'm in the process of hiring a second one right now, but we still have Mateo Perez Guzman. So but at the beginning, when the graffiti students started, they started with a total of 852 graffiti files left over from the previous years. As of April 30th, 2021, they now have 695 graffiti files. So still today, they have in 2018, 10 outstanding files. These are the ones we're going to try to tackle first to make sure that we can get these cleaned up when the weather gets warmer. 2019, we have 273 outstanding files. Those ones will be tackled second. When I say tackled, I mean with a contractor to get them cleaned up. And then 2020, we have 16 outstanding files. So a total of outstanding files that we have from the previous year is 299. And the current calls, new calls that we have, this was back on April 30th when I looked at the stats, was 396 new files this year. March stats ward by ward. This was as of March 31st. Ward 1, these are new files, basically what the students, either people calling in complaining or proactive calls. So in Ward 1, we had 27 new calls. Ward 2, 50. Ward 3, 52. Ward 4, 17. Ward 6, 19. Ward 7, 27. Ward 8, 15. Ward 9, 1. Ward 12, 1. But of those, public complaints or public fines were 91. So the city of Hamilton is a victim as well of this crime. And also the private property, there was 100 violations found. Utilities would be anywhere from Bell or Hydro or Rogers Cable or anything like that. There was only 7 found. And the total written orders was 198 by the end of March. So here's just a picture of a concrete canvas. Concrete canvas, just to let you know, is trying to set up again this year where they're going to be placing all kinds of different graffiti artists worldwide. This particular one was done by an individual from Spain. Normally that particular mural would cost in roughly well over 50,000. I think I was quoted by one of the graffiti artists, it would have been about $65,000 just for that particular mural, but he did it for free. And once again, they're going to try and set up this year, but they're going to try to do a lot of things. Whether or not it does or doesn't happen, it also depends on the graffiti artists because of all the lockdowns and everything. And if they can get here and if they can get enough graffiti artists, they're actually going to be doing a lot of different things on city assets that are constantly being tagged so that we don't have to keep on repainting over them. So any questions?
So Cindy, yeah, beautiful. If you don't mind hiding, it'll just be easier for just to be not you hiding your presentation. Then if people have questions, it's easier to see.
Yeah.
It looks like Carrie has a question. And Susie?
Through the chair, this has been a long-standing issue downtown, and I know Kelly's probably tired of getting emails from me because we have, unfortunately, as quickly as they are removed by our property owners, I would say of all of our property owners, 98% of them want to remove the graffiti and want to remove it timely. The problem is that as quickly as they remove it, it is back up. So to the point that they're being followed by people tagging as they are cleaning. So I think we've also had some issues with the notices to comply being given to a manager or not a manager or just somebody at random instead of notifying the property owner directly. We've also had some concerns that the notifications, the notice to complies weren't completed properly. So I think if we could be a little bit more thorough and also give a little bit more time. I know they were given notices on April 8th that they were going to be reassessed on May 8th, and then they cleaned and then have now had to clean 3 times prior to May 8th. They are a victim of a crime. They want to keep their properties clean. Is there a way we could make this system a little bit more efficient?
Okay, so the students that started off were, they are brand new, so they're also learning, so it's a whole learning curve as well. So they typically do give anywhere from 2 weeks to a month, and then when the property owner, so what happens is if we see people on property, so they have to post it. That's just a policy and procedure, and that's
Right.
part of the protocol. So because a lot of times when we mail it out to a property owner, it comes back to us. So if we can say that for sure we did post it and we did mail it, because a lot of times they won't update the City of Hamilton tax roll and tell us their new address. people move and they don't update the tax department. They're supposed to, but a lot of people don't think about that. So that's why another reason why we post it or we give it to somebody who was on site, so that inevitably if the mail does come back, we know we at least did contact somebody on property. So that's one of the reasons why that happens. So that just so that you know that that's the reason why. And also too, we do know that they're victims of crime. So when they do reach out to us and tell them that they need more time, we're more than willing to work with the property owner and give them more time. We also have a gift card incentive where we will give people gift cards if they've been constantly tagged, so that helps alleviate some of the cost for them. It's not really a lot, but it's a little bit is better than nothing. And we also do have a program where we're trying, it's still in the works, where we're trying to get some kind of grant program where they can actually apply for a grant to get something on their property in the ways of some form of art to hopefully prevent a lot of graffiti from happening. If concrete canvas is not successful in solidifying enough city assets, I'm sure that they're going to reach out to the private property folks, because I have already given them a list I've gone to the artist myself. I've given them a list of different private properties that I have seen in the downtown core area that's habitually always being tagged. So as long as the wall is nice and big and they can show their stuff, they're more than willing to paint a mural on it. And the graffiti artists, I don't know if you know, they have in taggers, they have a code. So, and they kind of police themselves. So if someone's tagged on their mural, they will actually police those individuals. And I have seen it. I'm not going to really tell you what they do, but I've seen the wrath of the taggers and the graffiti artists when they don't follow the rules of the graffiti world. Does that answer your question, Carrie? Through the chair?
Not through the chair, not really. Like I think they have, because I quite honestly, yes, we've worked with concrete canvas. I mean, the properties that we're having, I mean, it's a back door of an alley that they're being told to comply, and they've painted it every single day. You look at Aragon Properties at the corner of King and Houston. They are out there every single day cleaning, to the point that they're now putting their staff at risk during a stay-at-home order because there's high traffic there. And then honestly, concrete canvas did the hoarding, construction hoarding, and it has been re-tagged. And so like we have commercial pieces on the back of the French that have been re-tagged without any type of and you know, we've worked with concrete canvas, we've done extra pieces. I think it's more the fact of being able to give property owners who want to help and want to clean their properties and want to look after them. I know it's hard. We have to follow policies, but I think it's very difficult right now for just due to volume.
Okay, so what is it that you're asking?
I'm just asking if there's, I guess my first thing is that I understand if there's students, and that's a great learning experience, that if you are going to fill out a notice to comply, that it should be complete and legible. So so you did address that perfectly. Yep. I think it's more, I'm just looking at if it's possible to not have the property owners go back to you to ask for more time. If we know it is a hot spot that you've identified and that the property owner has identified and they're doing their best to keep it clean, if we could not continually give them notices to comply. Honestly, it's for them. They don't want to pay a fine to have the city come and clean it for them.
There is no fine. There's no fine associated with graffiti, because we do know that they're victims of crime. So we don't ever charge anybody. We only would.
But you can go and clean their property and charge them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically what you're asking for, because this would be a workaround. Just so that you know, this would be a workaround. If we find what we could do, if someone's being consistently tagged, so they don't get a notice. If we find that the old tag is gone, we can close the file and then next year readdress it again.
That would be fantastic.
Okay,
yes.
That's what we'll do. Okay, so that they're not constantly being victimized by us as well as being victimized by the tagger.
That would be a dream. Thank you.
Okay, so that's what we'll do then. We'll move that forward and address it that way.
Right. Thank you.
Do you understand that, Mateo? Anybody else? Question?
So, Counselor, I think Susie and then Christina, maybe?
Okay, Susie?
So I'm also from downtown and International Village, so I totally understand what Carrie's frustrations are. We're having the opposite problem where we've reported in properties that it needs to come down on and it's not coming down. So then those walls are becoming graffiti walls. So I reported things in last year and it's still there. So I'm a little frustrated with that. The other big issue we're having is historically taggers weren't hitting murals. Well, our murals have been getting hit left, right, and center. So that to me is out the window. And to me, that should be a much bigger problem that the police should be pursuing because this is money that's being invested into the downtowns. The other issue we're having is etching and stickers is becoming a huge issue. And I have actually a person on staff who takes down graffiti from the public realm, but he cannot get these things taken down. So that's becoming a bigger issue. Our kiosk that the city put in has been totally graffitied and there's nothing we can do about it because it's all etched and stickered up. So I'd like the city to actually fix that if possible because it's sending not a great message. We remove as much as we can off of the public realm, but our guide simply can't get to that. And it's just, I guess it just gets exhausting this time of year after year after year. My job switches from everything else to managing graffiti. And it's just, to me, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. Where's the police? Like, why are our neighborhoods being patrolled more at night when we know that this issue is becoming a huge issue? I can drive downtown at night and see people graffitiing. It doesn't, it's out. They're very blatant about it at this point in time. And I'm not going to jump out of my car and get myself, stabbed or something because I'm trying to stop them. But it's very obvious that it's a huge issue. I guess we're all just kind of fatigued with it. I know we all are, but it's a conversation that we've all been having for the last 10 years. We never seem to be getting ahead of it. So it's very frustrating. We are looking to do a huge mural program in our area this year or early next year. Yes. So I'd be really interested to know what properties you've been referring for the concrete canvas. And I think that would be good for us to know anyways as BIAs as to what properties are sort of on our radar so that we're aware of all that stuff.
Thank you, Susie. And do you have a reply for that?
Okay, so yes, I do, Councillor Paul. So through the chair, we're not the police. So anything that you want the police to address, you need to actually talk to, his name is Officer Mendes. He's the new police officer, detective that takes care of graffiti. So anything you want to relate to the regarding police issues, you need to talk to the police because I can't answer for the police. I do know that the graffiti artists do police the murals when their murals are tagged. So like I say, I'm not going to address that and tell you how they do that, but I do know how they do that because I've seen it firsthand.
But just can I stop you there for a second? I'm not talking about graffiti murals. I'm talking about murals that artists have done. So it would have nothing to do with a graffiti artist. We're talking about artists that we've hired from the neighborhood to do murals. There's nobody policing those, and they're the ones getting hit.
I'm telling you that the graffiti artists and the graffiti world police themselves. So when someone tags on their mural because that's against the code, they will inevitably do something to the tagger that's done that. Now, I can't tell you what that is, and I'm not going to go into that detail because I've seen what their wrath is, and then it will stop. So when new taggers come out, a lot of times they don't know the code, but eventually they find out what the codes are because they live by certain codes, the graffiti world does.
I very much understand the inner workings of graffiti. I've had lots of training on that. My concern is that we still have to take it down. Like my train mural right now has been tagged at the corner of Ferguson and King. I have to deal with that now. No one's fixing it. Whether they're stabbing them behind the scenes isn't my problem.
Yeah,
my problem is that now my
they're
mural
not
still
physically doing anything, Susie. So don't think that. Think about it in graffiti world, in graffiti terms, and what they would do back to them with the graffiti world.
Okay.
But they don't do.
My issue is it's still tagged.
That's
my issue.
So a lot of times
I have to fix it.
A lot of times the graffiti artists will come and retouch up if something that's been tagged. A lot of times they will do that. So
they haven't.
Well, I can't I can't answer for the murals then for you. And the etching and the stickers, I'm not too sure what etching is. Is that where they're scraping things? Is that
They're
what?
scratching into the public property.
Okay, so that technically is a form of graffiti as well, and that would be a police issue for them to kind of catch them as well. And the stickers, so if people are putting up stickers, that actually falls under the sign bylaw. So you can reach out to the licensing department and ask the licensing officer to look into that, because that would be part of the sign bylaw.
Thank you, Susie. Jim, is that it?
I believe Christina had a question, Councillor.
Okay, Christina.
Hi there, Cindy. I'm up on Concession Street, so Ward 7. We have been working for over the last couple years to try and get a handle on the graffiti in our area. And we've done a number, like over a dozen murals on walls that were getting frequently hit. So that's the BIA that's been kind of fronting that money to kind of alleviate this pressure off of the property owners. I guess my question is a couple of things. When the students are coming up to kind of do an inventory of the tags that are in the area, are they also including city assets? Or I'm not sure if it's a city asset, but like, for example, utility boxes, because every single one of our utility boxes within the boundaries of our BIA are plastered in tags.
Yes, so when they actually go and do an investigation, they would do a utility box as well. They do the hydro pole. They go even to like your bike racks, even if something's on a bike rack, and then they investigate to try to figure out who owns that asset. And then all of the city departments of the various utilities are told about their graffiti, because we want them to try to clean up the graffiti before we ask the private property owners to clean up the graffiti.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with that, because they see these utility boxes, and at least the ones in our area have had the same tags of them for over a year. And I get that COVID has complicated things and has made it difficult for crews to come out and clean things up. But they're really bad. And they're, and the utility boxes are always at high transited intersections where there's a lot of vehicles. So they're really visible and they look really terrible. But if you're saying that they're tracked and they're gonna get cleaned.
Yeah, and we've decided from 2019, when we were working in 2019, we decided that we would start giving all of the departments report cards on how quickly they're cleaning up their graffiti, and then that would be visible to council to let them know which departments are being more mindful of the graffiti and which ones are not.
Okay. And then with respect to concrete canvas, is there any way that it could, that this initiative could expand beyond the downtown core? Because that's,
yeah, I can talk to the graffiti artist who's instrumental in the concrete canvas for you, and let them know that there's a public outcry for up on the hill as well.
Perfect. That would be great.
Can I pass the chair maybe to Susie? I just wanted to ask you, Cindy, what is the cost of cleanup every time somebody goes from bylaw and cleans it up to the owner?
Yeah, you mean for the contractor? That is a good question. I have no idea, because we very rarely call a contractor, because we really because we know they're victims of crime, we really try to work with the property owner themselves to try to get a cleanup, because we don't want them to have any kind of cost, because we do know they're victims of crime. Like I say, the ones that we're actually going to try to clean up first are the ones that are from 2018 that are still there, that still have not been cleaned up. And then we're going to go to the 2019 files next. So work our way backwards, because those ones just have not done anything. And so those are the ones that we want to get cleaned up. And most of them predominantly, believe it or not, are not in the BIAs that aren't cleaning them up. They're homeowners that have been victimized, that are frustrated with the graffiti. But we've already given them gift cards and they have not done anything. So that's why we're going to go after them first.
Right. And my next question was, I couldn't believe all the different wards, how some are doubled in some wards and some wards have hardly any and some have so many. But I'm just wondering, I think you did answer it. Beside the BIA district, what other places are people doing graffiti?
Well, it's interesting that you do bring that up, because the the graffiti wall that we put up in the Barton BIA area, there's less graffiti now there than there used to be in past before that graffiti wall went up, which is amazing. So Ken Coit is trying to put up 2 new walls in 2 other strategic areas because we want them to try to go there and not go on utilities, public property, private property. So if they've got that venue that they can go to, that's where we're trying to redirect them to go to. And that wall gets used quite a bit.
And the last question, parks. I had somebody call, it was a while ago, about the parks. Are a lot of parks being targeted as well?
It's interesting that you say that because it all depends. So, and we do give parks a report. And the frustrating thing is for us is because we know that the parks people are out there looking at the parks because they're cutting the grass and they're not getting rid of the graffiti. So it's a shame that we actually have to go out and tell them. But when we do tell them, they do clean it up. It's just they should be cleaning up before we tell them to clean it up. And that's the frustrating. Well, so we're feeling your frustration because we're feeling frustrated too. It's like traffic boxes. Like, why aren't you cleaning it up? Like, why do we have to tell you to clean it up? So it's almost like we're policing our own people.
Right. Well, thank you. And I don't see any other questions. Oh, yes. Okay, last minute. Okay, go ahead.
I just have one really quick question.
Yeah.
The Bell phone booths. We have one that doesn't work in our area. It's sort of sitting on a boulevard, so I'm not sure. I think it's on private property in the corner of the parking lot, but it's very close. Is Bell responsible for cleaning that up? How do I tackle?
Yes, Bell would be responsible for cleaning that up. So we do also look at utilities. I'm not too sure if Mateo has gone up to, which parking lot is that one in?
It's the Bulk Barn Plaza. It's
Okay.
their store. And a couple of years ago, I tried to get a hold of Bell for something else in town. Like, you can't even find how to get somebody at Bell.
Yeah, it's the same thing with hydro. It's very frustrating. So we do have connections where we actually speak to a specific person. So we'll have Mateo check that out and we'll try to get Bell to clean that up for you. If not, remove the whole booth.
Well, that's the thing. The phone doesn't work. It's on an angle like this. I don't even know why it's in there anymore.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And anybody else? Well, I want to thank Kelly, manager of the service delivery, and Cindy for coming this morning to help us answer any question we've had. So now I need a mover and a seconder.
Moved by Heidi, seconded by Susan.
Thank you. And anybody opposed? Well, I don't see any, so it's passed and we're going to move on. Thank you again, Kelly and Cindy.
Thank you, everyone.
Permission to leave the meeting, Councillor Pauls?
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Have a great day. Thank you. All right, 9.2.
Can I just add one thing to that last? Sorry.
Oh, sure. Susie?
Can we have this officer Mendes come to our next meeting then? Because he's the first time I've ever heard of this person, and I feel like this is more of a policing issue than a bylaw issue from the conversation today, it seems. So, I mean, we need some help here. It's getting out of it. It's out of hand. Like every year, I know I sound frustrated, but it's the same conversation every single year, and nothing really substantial ever gets done.
Okay, Susie, I see Kelly with her hand up. Do you want to respond to that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Through you, the chair. Yeah, we will. I'll reach out and ensure that on the next one that he is available. I haven't met him either. He was just newly appointed to the program, so I would like to speak to him, and I know he wanted to speak to our team because I personally wanted to get a better grip on it. Now, I don't manage Cindy. That's not me, but I mean, I deal with all the counselors. I deal with all you every day. So I'm like, I'm the one that has to answer here.
We
so
love you. Don't worry. We do love
Oh
you.
yeah. And I'm like, I wanted the answer. So And you know what? I love Cindy. Cindy is trying and doing a great job there. It's hard when you have a lot of turnover
Yeah.
for staff and new staff every year because it's a student-run program. That's very difficult for them. First of all, to get up and running, then they kind of want to be eager. But I've always been the one that says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Like remember, these are victims, and there has been previous years. I get that you want to come out gung ho, but you got to check the history." So we kind of have that kind of back and forth where I try and bring it down a notch and keep it, and that's with all enforcement, not just graffiti. It's the same right across the board, right? So I'm a certified officer as well, so I already know all that. So I try to speak to the students on their own as well to say, look, this is what you need to do and blah, 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 just for a different perspective because they, you know, this program is different than the other programs. The other ones are really revenue generating. This one is not a revenue generator, and that's not the way it needs to be looked at. This one is strictly to help the victims out there. So I'm going to take that back to the team as well, and I will make sure that Officer Mendes is, I'll check the schedule. I don't have it in front of me what your next date is for June, but we'll try and do bring him on and we'll go from there. So, and if I have anyone else that I think that would be beneficial, even not even for the graffiti, but something else that's hot on the trail there, then I'll bring that up to Julia and we can come and speak at the June one as well. So,
Okay. Just speaking of the downtown issues, you may want to discuss with Jason Farr, the chair of the Downtown Safe and Clean Task Force. We've had this on our agenda for years, and we did start to make some decent movement on some ideas about, you know, hiring contractors for certain areas that are hard hit and things like that. And then it all just kind of fell to the wayside, I think probably because of COVID, but you may want to talk to him and see what his, you know, background on that is. Because again, don't mind my frustration. I've been at literally like dozens of these meetings and it just seems like we're always talking about it and nothing really
dancing around the topic. Yeah.
And it's exhausting to us. Like we have better things to do, you know, than be worrying about like our murals getting tagged and how we're going to deal with that. Cause we're not artists. So you know, how do we get it? We don't ruin the art and things. So it's just getting out of hand. And I know that it is a policing issue and I know that they are overwhelmed with other things, but you know, if they had one person on staff just to patrol at night downtown, the areas that are getting tagged, I think a lot of these issues would go away. So,
and that's what I'd like to speak to him about, because I'd like to know, like, what is his role? Like, what is his intention? Is it just when it's a hate crime, or is he going to be patrolling and doing?
And I'd like to know that too. So that'd be great. I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah. I'll bring that back and I'll provide an update to Julia and we'll go from there. So I have my next meeting as well coming up. So thank you everyone and have a fantastic day.
Thank you again, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Take a great day. Okay.
Good luck with your move, counselor.
Oh, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on. 9.2, and it's infection prevention and control update. Latchman Nandu, Manager of Infection Prevention and Control, and Dr. Neil Tran, Associate Medical Officer of Health, and Alyssa Press, Health Promotion Specialists, are here with an update on infection prevention and control. Welcome, everyone, and you can take it. Oh, there you guys are. I love seeing I love seeing the speakers. So great. Thank you for turning your camera on. Go ahead.
Sure. Through you, Madam Chair, I believe I'm the one who's going to be doing the presentation on a few slides. So my name is Nin Tran. I'm one of the Associate Medical Officers of Health, and I will start projecting and sharing my screen. A second. Are you able to see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. So this public health update. Okay, so the overview for today is we're going to talk about 3 items. The class section 22 order that was put in place.
I'm Layla Black. And we are Mohawk Turtle Clan singer-songwriters from 6
So is that me?
I'm not certain who it was, Dr. Tran, but I think we're good now.
Okay. I didn't do anything. Okay, so Class Section 22. The second one is recent changes to the Reopening Ontario Act, and the third one is about vaccinations. So this was put in place last week, Class Section 22 order. It was issued by us, Public Health Services, City of Hamilton, and it was under the authority of the Health Protection and Promotion Act, which does give us the ability to issue not only individual orders but also class orders to address risk of communicable disease. And you've probably seen some of this happen already throughout COVID. Some other health units have used this class section for different purposes, and as well as Toronto and Peel, who went a few weeks ago with their own class section 22 for workplaces, and we followed suit with a very similar type of order. And the main reason is to break the chain of transmission and reduce transmission within local workplaces, and particularly in this third wave where we're seeing, mainly variants that are certainly spreading much faster than in other ways. And I do want to highlight one of the key reasons to doing this is there's two parts, and I think everyone talks about the closure piece, but it's the early identification and reporting piece that is at least as critical, if not more critical, to this part of the Class Section 22 order. There are some exemptions. I mean, certainly the class order is not, we've decided, similar to Toronto and Peel, not to apply to at all to a few type of facilities that generally have already guidance and processes in place provincially. So that's licensed childcare programs, healthcare providers, healthcare entities, schools, and school boards. We've also looked in terms of what doesn't make sense from ever doing a full closure. So certainly we wouldn't be shutting down critical infrastructure like water or first response, shelters, or government services, and services are required to maintain the health of animals. That doesn't mean that we wouldn't ever entertain, very targeted partial closures. Okay, so here are some of the main content areas of the order. As I mentioned, the biggest one part that people tend to maybe not report as much as in the media is the notification part, and notifying us if you have 2 or more cases first, and then if there's 5 or more cases within a 14-day period. And the reason for this is that I think people take for granted, like, well, you get tested, public health, knows about it, and why do we need to report it? Wouldn't you know about the results anyways? I think what the challenge is operationally is that we will get lab notices of, we'll get a lab result that's positive of an individual only if they live in Hamilton, and then, but it doesn't give us any other information. So then we have to sort of process it, call them, and then at some point we find out that they live here, they do this, they work here, and then and we have different case managers, and there's always going to be a lag in terms of if we were relying on that method for us to identify workplace cases and outbreaks. And I think the other part is that workplaces tend to employ people not only from the city that they're from, but from other jurisdictions. So it further delays things when if a workplace has folks from Hamilton, Waterloo, Peel, Niagara. So we find out about it later. So it is critical for us to take on sort of a similar process that we do in other facilities, whether it's like hospitals, long-term care, where the workplaces or the facility just notifies us first, because you tend to know about these cases much earlier than we do, and an earlier identification allows us to have more focused action so that we don't have to, you know, do something broader or more blunt down the road. So, I mean, that's just a key part that I want to highlight, and that you know, if we choose to close because you've got 5 or more cases, it would be from issue of notice and 10 calendar days following that, and the signage would be posted. I do. So before I finish off on this, I do want to also highlight that I know like there's a lot of questions, concerns, or fears. Is like, the moment we have 5 cases, you're going to shut us down completely. I think our attention is, I mean, certainly closures. We're looking at it more often now that we didn't have to in the first or second wave as a potential tool to use. That doesn't mean that we're going to use right off the bat a blunt tool right away and close the whole workplaces. What we try to do is first, find something that is, interventions that are least intrusive, most impactful. So I'll just give you sort of 2 sort of broad examples, so you have a sense of, what that looks like, and where, no closure is needed versus a very minimal targeted closure versus when you might see something that's a little broader. So, if you come to us with, you call us, you find out there's 2 cases, they happen, and if you've organized your workplace in a way that people work on, are paired in, are parts of teams that don't really change, they work on different shifts, and you got 2 cases and they're all on the same shifts, and we've identified it, and the people who have been in contact have been like sent home. And if those happen to, those other, 3 people happen to test positive down the road, and you got 5, I mean, they're already at home. There's actually no need for any further action. You've got to contain. I mean, similar to if you've got like a larger workplace and you've got, we end up with 5 cases. They're all clearly within one shift, one area. And that where it might be like you just dismiss that particular shift because you think that it's fully contained to that, and we don't, and that's as far as the closure goes. I think we start thinking about broader closures when we have concerns that people might have been exposed across the whole facility in time or space. So if you've got 5 or more cases and you've got a workflow that people are moving about between different buildings, between different shift areas, they're working sometimes days, sometimes night shifts, and we've got 5 cases that are spread all along your whole facility, and and there's a potential that everyone or could be exposed, and we just can't localize it. And that's where I think looking at a full workplace closure becomes a bit more necessary, or when we've done some more targeted interventions and we're still seeing some spread. So I don't want to get the impression that once you get 5 cases, we're looking first off the bat to close your entire facility, but it is a tool we've had to use more, and again, we try to focus on things that are much more targeted, but that's more helpful when we find about things much earlier with the 2 cases, and particularly if your workplace is organized in a way where people are what we call cohorted, and they're sort of fixed and not sort of moving around in sort of times and place everywhere else. There are a couple changes to the Reopening Act. I mean, some of it you might already be doing already. So there's new lunchroom guidance that because we have seen transmission in break rooms and lunchrooms, that if anyone in a lunchroom or break room, that if you're temporarily needing to remove your mask to eat or drink, you have to be separated at least by 2 meters, or plexiglass or impermeable barrier. There's also additional direction on eye protection guidance, that in addition to wearing a mask, if you're not able to maintain 2 meters of distance indoors or outdoors, you're expected to wear an eye protection. And the last part is, and it's an interesting day, it's vaccination. And the reason why I say it's interesting is that today, I think as of 8 a.m. this morning, the second group of folks that are unable to work from home are eligible to book on the provincial booking system for the vaccines. So if you don't know about that, we can talk about it, but it opens up a lot more services, whether we're talking about retail or the like the restaurant industry. So some of the key messages are that, I mean, certainly COVID vaccine is highly encouraged, but it is voluntary, and looking towards employers to get the word out and support your employees to get vaccinated by creating either a culture or promoting it or giving them appropriate time to book or go get vaccinated as well. It is one additional public health measure. That doesn't mean that once you get vaccinated, you can just stop doing all the other parts in terms of hand hygiene, physical distancing, masking. We're not nowhere at that stage yet, but it is one very important additional measure of protection that we can all do to protect ourselves from getting sick with COVID and some potential complications, also transmitting it. And yeah, and essentially, although I mentioned like today is the day where the second group of essential workers who can't work from home are able to be vaccinated. People might have, other considerations such as age or other health conditions that you should be booking your vaccine based on whatever criteria you're first eligible with. So people who are in their 50s would have been already eligible as of last week. So don't wait until you're in a particular later category. Sign up for the earliest category you are eligible in. And the idea is that everyone 18 plus by the end of May will be able to book their first vaccination. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to get your vaccine in, but I think the intent and the expectation is that everyone over 18 who wants a vaccine will be able to get their first vaccine administered by the end of June. Hopefully a bit earlier, depending on the supply, and then we can start even looking at the 12 to 18 because the Pfizer vaccine is now eligible for that. So this is more of the provincial summary of where the eligibility has changed in the last couple of weeks in terms of really opening things up for booking based on the increases in supply that's happening in May and in June. So, we've already passed the week of April 26th, where it was 55 and older. Last week was a big milestone for workplaces in terms of the group 1 that cannot work from home. And then as of, I believe, this morning at 8 a.m., group 2 is eligible to book online. Again, encourage anyone to book using the provincial system rather than, if you can, and limit, calling our hotline, for those who really can't have access, or have other language or internet, accessibility issues, because you can get it booked much faster through the provincial system. Oops, and that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Tran. I was speaking without unmute myself. Thank you for your presentation and for taking it down so we could see if there's any question by the committee. Any questions? All right. I will give the chair to Susie. If I could ask one question, Dr. Tran. Can you explain, because I've had a few people from my ward call me, what is the difference if, let's say, I've had COVID, and it says 10 days I have to isolate. but the person that's in my house that doesn't have COVID has to isolate for 14 days. Can you make it clear the distinction? What's the difference? One has 14 days and the other one has 10 days.
Sure.
I really can. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Yes. So through the chair. So there's two periods, time frames that we have to think about. So one is called the period of communicability, or really how many days does one if they have COVID would be infectious for. And that's the 10 days part. I mean, it used to be simpler. Last fall, the province went with 14 days and 14 days, so it was just easy to remember. But they actually happen to represent two different periods. So the 10 days is generally, if you have COVID from the start of your symptoms, assuming you're generally healthy, or you're not hospitalized in the ICU, you're not, significantly severely immunocompromised. The rule of thumb is, by day 10, after 10 days, you are no longer infectious. Again, there's a couple caveats that, if you're hospitalized in the ICU, then that extends 20 days, same with immunosuppressed, and your symptoms have to be resolved. I mean, if you're still quite ill, after 10 days, we would extend that, but 10 days is the rule of thumb. The 14 days is what we call as the incubation period. So that's, once you get exposed, how many days, could it take for you to experience symptoms and start becoming infectious with COVID? And that period is 14 days so that's why it might take as long as 14 days to develop symptoms, or to have, after you get exposed by someone, to either develop symptoms or to become infectious. So that's why they're different. So that's why for the cases, they have to be isolated for 10 days, because that's, after 10 days, they generally should no longer be infectious. But it could take other members of their family up to 14 days to develop symptoms or to become infectious. So that's why the close contacts, I would say, we call it quarantine for 14 days to see if they, develop symptoms within those 14 days. I mean, certainly if you develop symptoms on day 12, then you probably have to isolate for an additional 10 days, because then so those are the two different periods.
Dr. Tran, it's a little bit confusing, because if someone had the COVID and after 10 days they're clear, but they're living with someone in the household that still might have COVID after 13 or 14 days, could they reinfect the person that's been cleared? So that's where the confusion lies.
Yeah.
So if I had COVID and my husband didn't, but I'm clear to go out now, but I come back and my husband gets COVID the 14th day or the 13th day, could he give it back to me?
Yeah, so through Madam Chair, the short answer would be no. And that's why, because otherwise it would just be terrible. Because then people get recover and they get re-isolated. So the idea of reinfection, if you give it to someone and you recover, you wouldn't be able to give it back. I think so. The rule of thumb would be, again, once you resolve, and let's say someone else becomes sick in your household, or in the exact same sort of circle of transmission or chain of transmission, you don't need to re-isolate again. I think it becomes an issue for reinfection if, let's say, you've recovered, you've gone out, and then a week or two later, you run into someone who you interact with someone who's COVID positive. At that point, you would need to quarantine in the event that you got exposed to a different strain. I mean, if you get sick with one strain, you give it to your partner, and you've recovered, you wouldn't be, you should be recovered, protected, certainly in the short run, from that exact same strain. However, if you go out and you're in a completely different situation and you get exposed to someone else with COVID, the possible reinfection, it is reasonable, because you could be exposed to a completely different strain.
Thank you. The last question I want to ask is, after the 10 days, if you get, you get tested again and you show that you do have it, because even, will it show that you had it? How long does it stay in your body? Like,
Yeah, so
and you get tested.
Yeah, so we wouldn't recommend after we in public health have cleared you in terms of, the 10 days is over and you're not feeling any symptoms. We wouldn't recommend that you get tested because the test that we have right now is very sensitive and it detects sort of more like genetic fragments. So it can't differentiate necessarily between a dead virus and an active virus. So that's where the clinical judgment is. So, we've had people in wave one where there used to be a policy for healthcare workers that you needed like 2 negative tests within 24 hours to come back, and we were finding some healthcare workers were testing positive like 1, 2, 3 months down the road, and then it was like, I guess they're not working for 3 months, and then but it's a non-clinical uh, judgment. So we do some additional testing to see like, what's sort of the viral activity, and so sometimes we have people who test positive, but they had tested positive a couple months ago, and then we do some further analysis to have a sense of what's the viral activity, and if the viral activity is like quite low, and we repeat it twice, then we can be confident that, yeah, this is just part of an old infection. But that's one of the challenge of the current test. It's very sensitive, but you have to have some clinical judgment in the sense of the context of how likely do you think the person is of currently having an infection.
All right, thank you, Dr. Tran. Is there any other questions? And I'll take the chair back. Rachel.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Tran. I did want to just sitting on the IPAC team with the fantastic people that are here joining us. I did want to share some things that I've picked up that to make sure my colleagues are aware of. So we've probably heard about how a lot of people are getting sick after getting the vaccine. So Alyssa and the team are putting together a fantastic kind of Q&A sheet to give out to our members about vaccine recommendations and suggestions. So it's going to include kind of an FAQ, do you book people off when they get the vaccine so that they have that in case they get symptoms? Are they safe to come back to work? And those kind of questions. So I will share that hopefully the end of the week with you guys to share with your members if you're interested. The other piece too, I do really want to highlight what Dr. Tran said, that you don't need to get retested to go back to work after having COVID. That's something that a lot of people are trying to push, not a requirement, and it doesn't work. And then the other two quick pieces was the first one, if you've had COVID, and this is a little bit, so Alyssa and Latchman and Dr. Tran, you may want to take over to make sure I'm saying this right, but if you've had COVID, it's boosted your immune system, so you may be able to wait a bit before getting your vaccine. Just because I think there's a question when you go to get your vaccine as to whether you've had COVID. So just to think of those things. And the last one I did want to mention was Dr. Tran shared as well that if workers are not able to keep 2 meters apart, there is a recommendation that they wear both a face shield and a mask. Just to increase their protection. Otherwise, they're likely to be sent home if there isn't a case that they're working with. Alyssa Latchman, I don't know if you want to clarify any of the garble that I just mentioned, but.
Can I clarify the one part about the vaccine part first? So in terms of being vaccinated after you've recovered, I mean, there's no. Okay, I think that question has been proposed to me more recently. I mean, my approach is that you don't need to wait. There's no medical reason to wait, to my knowledge, after recovered, like, for a period of time before you get the vaccine. I think what the one consideration is, you're likely having some protection in the interim term. So similar to what the National Advisory Committee has mentioned, Just from a supply issue, from prioritization issue, if you want to, wait a bit so that other people who haven't been exposed yet or recovered from vaccine get it before you, because from that perspective, I think that's fair. But so it's more from a, when supply issue is low, to people who have just recently recovered from COVID, wait to get their vaccine, so that others who haven't been exposed yet, or have other risk factors get it first. So not from a medical perspective, more from a prioritization sequencing perspective. That's my perspective, but I understand that I think some health providers have been telling their patients otherwise to wait. But
All right. Thank you, Dr. Tran. I don't see any other speakers, so I just want to thank you, Dr. Tran, and your team for all you're doing for our city and keeping us in track. So thank you very much for coming and sharing with us.
thank you for having me. But I'll just, I guess, defer to see whether Alyssa or Lachman had any further
Sure.
comments from what Rachel had said. Sorry, I interrupt before they had a chance.
Sure. Any other comment?
Good morning, through the chair, Dr. Tran. I think you have it covered, and Rachel, you did a great job explaining the pieces that have come out of the IPAC subgroup. So no further comments from me. Thanks.
Thank you, Nandu. And
thank you, through the chair, same. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, have a great day, and you're allowed to leave.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on. I need a mover and a seconder to approve the presentation.
Moved by Jennifer, seconded by Emily.
Thank you very much. And I see nobody's opposing, so we're moving on, and it's carried. Thank you. Okay, number 10, discussion on Ontario Business Improvement Area Association Conference 2021. And please, can I have, okay, Carrie, would you like to provide the update first?
Yeah, and unfortunately, Carrie had to leave because it was after 9. So I think,
Julia?
yeah.
Julia, Smiley Julia.
Morning,
Hi.
everyone. So a quick update on the Ontario BIA conference, again, that is coming September 26th through 29th of this year. We are still in the process of planning the hybrid conference, aiming for about 150 people in person and 100 virtual. However, given the restrictions at that time, we don't know, but we are moving forward as if we can, fingers crossed, host the in-person. I think the most pertinent information for this group this month is respecting the mobile tours. So I think almost everyone has confirmed that they would like to participate in the mobile tours. And so just to give a little bit of information on that, there's actually 4 different sessions for mobile tours. And I will work with all of you to see what works best for your areas. But the tours run approximately 2.5 hours. So what I want this group to think of is, you've indicated that you want to host a mobile tour. At the very least, we're hoping that you can host 2, at least 1 on Tuesday and 1 on Wednesday, but it could be up to 4, 2 on Tuesday and 2 on Wednesday. And can you fill about 2 hours worth of time? If you can't, we'll look to pair up BIAs that are relatively close together, or based on timing, how it will work, so that we can fill that time frame. Although, a 2 hours, if you get a couple of businesses out that get to chat about themselves and the work that they do, it can be filled up relatively quickly. So please start to think about what you want to showcase in your areas. If you're able to do 2 or 4 tours, and if you'd like to pair up with somebody else. If you want to put together sample itineraries that we can start to review, that would be really helpful. But I did want to let everybody know what the mobile tour component is going to look like if we do have the in-person piece. It will be 10 people maximum per mobile tour, so we're not bringing big groups into your areas. And we're of course going to focus on masking, social distancing as best we can, and all of the health and safety protocols. We don't know what the rules will be at that point, as I've mentioned several times, but we do want to start to think about how we can highlight our BIAs across the city to participate in those. So more information will come to you via email, but if you could start to think about how you would build that itinerary and what that might look like, that's probably a good starting point. So again, the tours will be on the Tuesday and the Wednesday, and that is September 28th and September 29th. 2.5 hours total for the tours each day. Given travel time, we're going to say approximately 2 hours for each of the tours. So that is the very quick update. I don't know if anyone else from the host committee wanted to jump in for anything that I missed.
Thank you, Julia. Anybody else? I don't. Okay, Rachel.
I just wanted to clarify, it's my understanding that if you're doing 4 tours, they don't need to all be different tours. It's different groups, so you don't think you have to creatively come up with 4 different tours.
Thank you, Rachel. Very good point.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Rachel. And I don't see anybody else asking questions, so we need a mover and a seconder to approve the discussion here. And Rachel and
Tracy?
Tracy? Okay, I'll see both of you. Okay, thank you. I don't see anybody opposing, so we're going to move on to, let's see where I'm at. Discussion item, and we're going to, no, we're general information. Verbal update from Julia. Again.
Hello. Hello again, everyone.
Today to have you twice in a row. Okay, go ahead.
I'll try to go relatively quickly with some of the highlights, but I'm going to go through all my updates. If there's any questions, I'll take them at the end. So I'm going to just be looking down at my notes. Sorry if I miss you, but some reminders. The Shop Local support funding, that's $10,000 per BIA. I'm looking for your written proposals or at least a conversation with me by June 30th. I think I've spoken to most of you about some of your initiatives and what you're thinking, and some great new initiatives coming out from all of you, which is really exciting. But if we haven't connected, I'll reach out to you. Just looking to sort of chat about what you want to spend that funding on and how you want to allocate it. And we do want to get those in by June 30th because that money does have to be spent in 2021. So that'll give another 6 months to make sure that we are able to allocate the funding. And with the COVID restrictions, if we have to shift and pivot and be creative, we have time to do that. So just a reminder to be thinking about that and talking to your boards about how they want to spend that $10,000 in funding. A reminder that the Hamilton COVID Concierge site is up and running, and there are staff available by phone Monday to Friday, 8:30 till 4:30. It's a great resource for any of the questions that you have. They're bringing in information from the province, from other small business enterprise centers. They're bringing in all the IPAC information. So it really is a one-stop shop for yourselves or for your members to connect with them. Please continue to push that out. I've seen it in a lot of your newsletters. Again, the website is Hamilton COVID Concierge, all one word, .ca, or the phone number is 905-521-3989. And it is a live person that's answering the phone. There is no queue. Another item that I wanted to bring forward is the CFL has confirmed their schedule for 2021. It is a later schedule beginning in August, but with that, it will culminate at this time with the Grey Cup in Hamilton on December 12th, 2021. The Tiger Cats are working on what that programming will look like, but there is still a hope that there will be events and festivities leading up to it across the city. I will share more information as it is available. We are connecting with the Tiger Cats to see what that will look like, but I wanted to make sure everyone did have that date in mind to kind of plan accordingly if we are able to host a full stadium. So more information to follow on that in the coming weeks and hopefully a few days. In just a few weeks, I don't have the exact date for the council report, but the levy bylaws will be going to council. It's usually late May or early June. And what that is you've all set your levies and your budgets for 2021. It's verifying the assessments for your areas, and then we put a bylaw in place to ensure taxation can place the levy on each individual property owner within your boundaries. And so once those are passed at council in the coming weeks, I'll be able to share your funding allocations for the year as we normally do. So the contribution to operating budget, parking revenue, etc., what we normally would share. So that will probably be in early June, early to mid-June. Once I get your finalized assessments, I can share those proper allocations for you and what that's looking like. We're finalizing on our end as well. One thing we really want to start to tackle in economic development and be much more aware of, and a few of you I've reached out to in the past few weeks and months for your help and thank you, is the vacancy information specifically to commercial vacancies that are street level storefronts. We really want to get a handle of what that count is in each of your BIAs and what, you know, the vacant ground floor commercial is. So we're going to be doing that 2 times annually now. I think January and July kind of give a good sense of that. And I'll be reaching out to you regarding some help potentially with that. And that ties into the business development meetings that we want to have with each of you. My colleague Carol Murillo and I will begin scheduling those in June to talk about assessing your area, what the needs are, what are some wish list items, what are some leads that we have on the horizon so that we can really engage in the business attraction and retention piece for each of your areas. So more information on that will follow, but that's a new initiative that we want to implement going forward. And finally, a reminder that anyone who is in the September audit cycle, by the end of May, we would like all of your information to accounting services. I will send you follow-up emails as I always do, but that is approaching within about 2 weeks. So please keep that on your radar and continue to pull your information together. We did very well on the June audits. Thank you to everyone who went through the June audit cycle. Hopefully it was a little bit better with KPMG. I look forward to your feedback. But the September audit deadline is fast approaching, just a reminder. And a reminder, although we are still in a shutdown, outdoor dining district applications are still open. Businesses can still apply. We're still processing applications for all 3 streams of the program. So those are my quick updates. Thank you all. Good to see you. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Julia. And is there any questions for Julia? I don't see any, so we just need a mover and a seconder to receive the update from Smiley Julia.
Emily and Jennifer.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Julia. All right, I don't see anybody opposing it, so we're going to move on. And we're going for the statement of members. But before we go there, I just want to thank all the director for the BIAs for the fantastic job you're doing, especially at these times with COVID. I think the business owner are very lucky to have you defending them, helping them. So I just want to personally say thank you for what you're doing. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on, and members, we'll start with Ancaster BIA. Jennifer.
Hi there. Well, I guess like most of you, still navigating what our next steps are and still working things planning. For me, the next steps in planning are a little different, as this will be my last meeting with you all, as I've recently resigned from the BIA, and I'll be starting a new job next week. So yeah, I'll still be online helping them liaise and try and figure out how they're going to proceed. It makes it a little more difficult during COVID. But yeah, it's a whole other next steps in planning. Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, congratulations. And can you tell us what you're moving on to?
I am. I'm going back to an old world for me. I'm going back to an advertising agency. The world of COVID made the opportunity. They are, the position offering is permanently remote. So most of them are based in Toronto, which living in Ancaster makes it fantastic opportunity. And yeah, it was a hard decision to make, but I'm getting excited. The to-do list is long trying to wrap up, but yeah, getting excited.
Well, we're all going to miss you, Jennifer, and we wish you all the best in your new career.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a hard decision. It's going to be missing working with all of you and my members. I live in my BIA, so it's yeah, it's a hard one.
Well, all the best to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to Barton Village. Rachel.
How do you follow that? Wow, congratulations, Jennifer. Good for you. So in our BIA update, so we have had a few new businesses open, which has been fantastic. So we had Barton Lettuce open, which is a new fruit and vegetable market. They're doing fantastic. really well received by the community because it's been a bit of a food desert here. So that's great. We have Barton Saloon. I'm not going to say the name right. Saloon. They do charcuterie boards. So hopefully I didn't sabotage the name too bad. So they just opened as well. They're doing great. Hammertown Inc. are just opening. They do pre-made cabins, AstroTurf, countertops, and steel roof, and a whole bunch of stuff. But they're on a corner in this really big space, and they have this pre-built cabin that's absolutely stunning inside their business, which is hilarious. It's like this escape from Barton to, they have this big mural of a lake at the back wall. So it's like you're going to the lake. It's fun. So those are our openings. We also have the Baby Depot coming to Barton. They just put their signage up. So that's really exciting. We did have a few sad stories. Unfortunately, Nick from Frank Cecilia Bakery had passed away. So Frank Cecilia Bakery, longstanding business on Barton, has closed. And they will be greatly missed for sure. And then Stir It Up as well, a local coffee shop. The owner has moved out east, so they have closed as well.
Well, thank you, Rachel. We're going to go to concession. Christina.
So on concession, I guess our biggest thing is we're kicking off Sidewalk Sounds this Saturday. So for right now, we're offering online music performances. We're thrilled to have Logan Stats, who won the launch, the first season of the launch, kicking off our music series. And as well, we've got Hashi, the mouthpiece, a beatboxer that's going to be performing at 7 o'clock. So all of these are going to be happening on the stage of the Zoetic. They're going to be streamed through Facebook Live and Instagram Live. And then afterwards, they're going to be housed on Hometown Hub. So for people who don't have social media, they can check out the performances as well. And what we're doing to try and connect these back to the businesses is throughout the performance, anybody who comments, shares or likes the posts will be automatically entered to win 50 concession bucks that they can use in any of the stores. So to make up for the foot traffic that we're not having on the street because this is online, it'll give people an incentive to get into the shops or support the local businesses as best they can. So we're super excited about that, and that will continue through the whole summer until September, the third Saturday of each month. As far as new businesses, well, we do have some activity. So Heal Wellness, which has the smoothie bar, the plant-based smoothie bar, is actually opening up a plant-based veggie spot right next door. So they're going to be at 586. They should be opening around May 20th, so just before the Victoria Day long weekend. So we're super excited about that. We have MJ Construction and then Kitchen and Cabinets. They're going to be having a showroom display spot at 540 concession. Retrosaurus, our toy store, is moving into a bigger spot, just a few doors down at 550 concession. So they're in the process of renovating that space. Made You Look Optical is moving across the street into 555 Concession Street. And I can't yet announce what's going into the space that they're leaving vacant, but I think it's already been spoken for. So it's hopefully it's going to be something really exciting. And sadly, we had to say goodbye to Poké. I guess the burden of COVID was too much for them. They decided to close their doors. Solar is focusing most of his energies into My Pie. He just couldn't split himself between the two anymore. However, they will be reopening their doors when this pandemic is over, and fingers crossed that they will find another spot in our neighborhood because everybody loved them, and everyone's very sad about that announcement. But other than that, that's it for Concession Street.
Thank you, Christina. I saw the ad on CH, the sidewalk.
Oh, for Sidewalk Sounds, yeah.
Yeah. It was really good. So
yeah, thank you.
I hope we get a lot of people involved in that. So that's good. Okay, downtown Hamilton, Carrie. Did Carrie have to leave? Is she here?
Yes, she had to go.
Okay, sorry about that. I thought, okay. So where am I, Carrie? Okay, Dundas, Lisa.
No, Lisa, you're still muted. No, we can't. Maybe just unplug your headphones entirely and try just off the computer.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. First, thank you. I wanted to say all the best to Jennifer from Ancaster. Best of luck. I think you joined Ancaster BIA very soon after I joined the Dundas BIA, so we've spent a lot of time together. So I wish you the best of luck with your next job. That's great news for you and exciting. Yeah, you're welcome. Not much to talk about, everything's curbside, stay at home, be careful what you advertise. The newest exciting thing in Dundas is Eccles Auto Service has installed 2 electric vehicle charging stations on their property. So they are now advertising 2 parking spots, which is exciting. They are the first electric vehicle charging stations in Dundas, and there's a lot of electric cars go by, or hybrids. So we'll see. I'm excited for them to be updating their business in that way. And other than that, we're just planning, and we keep planning what we're going to do when everything's open and wonderful, and that's about all I have.
Thank you, Lisa. And you know what? It's good to dream, right?
Yeah.
And something to look forward to,
Exactly.
So that's good, Lisa. Thank you. And last but not least, International Village, Susie.
Hi there. So we had our new brand launch last week, so I'm pretty excited about that. So whole new look for International Village, new logo, new banners, new website. We've got a bus wrap going. Thanks, Rachel. So we've been working on that for 2 years. It was not an easy task. We had a lot of community feedback at the start, and then just trying to come up with the final concept was painful, but we got there, and we're really, really excited with how this is looking and going. We will have some more fun things to announce coming up, but that's pretty much where our focus has been. It's a huge job, as all of you know, undergoing a rebrand. So I'm tired these days, but we're getting there. Jennifer, I just wanted to thank you. I'm so sad to see you go, and I know you've been at the table for a long time, so all the best in the future. And
Thanks.
I think we have our Spring Up in the Village contest running still till the end of the month, which has actually been getting quite a lot of response. So people are still coming out to support, which is a really great thing. So that's about all I have for now.
Thank you, Susie. You're not lost. I forgot to scroll up. There's a few more. All right. Michael's not here, so we're going to go for Lock Street. Heidi.
Hi, everyone. Not much to report. We've got some new banners. Sorry, I have to keep my voice down. My daughter's sitting across from me. We've got some new banners that we'll be seeing the concepts for this week, which is exciting because we need some color on Lock Street. We're still planning for a road closure, but it's kind of up in the air as to how exactly we'll do that. We've got a couple new businesses moving on to Lock Street. I saw a post that Hammerheads is opening a second location, so we're excited to have them there. Although I don't think they're actually going to be frying their chicken on Lock Street, so it's just going to be kind of fresh seafood, I think. Maddie's Hot Chicken and Pizza Iola, I think it's what it's called. It's a franchise. Green Bar has left Lock Street. And then it was a couple weeks ago, we had our federal MP, Matthew Green, bring the issue to about the wage subsidy and the Qs and Kers. And unfortunately, that fight has been lost for Lock Street. So millions of dollars that Lock Street businesses will not have access to. So bit of a disappointment.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you, Heidi, for that. And then Bender's not here. Ottawa, Emily.
Hello. Yeah, it's been, just slow like for everybody else. We still have all the same businesses are working to get all their permits. Like the Argyle is a gorgeous golf simulator place that's basically like chomping at the bit to open. So I think as soon as the stay-at-home order is done, there's just going to be businesses popping up left, right, and center on Ottawa Street. Dundurn Market finally announced their new location on Ottawa Street. So it's basically right across from our BIA office. So that'll be really exciting. It looks like they still have quite a few months ahead of them before they can open. From what I understand, the BIA office used to be in that building, and the landlord was quite hands off. So the building, I think, needed a lot of repair. So hopefully they can get that all set and ready and open sooner than they're hoping. And we have a couple new banners that just say coming soon with zero indication of what's going to be happening there. So exciting to see what will be going on. As far as activity, we had so much money left over from our Easter budget, and we have so much budgeted for Canada Day that we did a Mother's Day giveaway, which was really, really popular. And we'll be doing the same for Father's Day and just buying gift cards from a bunch of people on the street. So that went over really well. So that was nice to see some traffic on our social media sites. I took up the Digital Main Street. I took them up on their social media audit, and that was really helpful. So we're working on implementing all of those as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily. And we're going to go to Waterdown. Susan.
Oh, okay. So we've been very busy because our farmers market launches 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. We are opening May 29th. We are moving our market this year because we've traditionally done it at the Legion, and the Legion is still closed. They couldn't commit to having anything on their premise for our planning cycle. So we're going to be going back to our roots. We're going to be landing at Waterdown Memorial Park this year for the farmers market. And that's certainly keeping us hopping because we had anticipated a delayed start. And once we got the go ahead, we're trying to gear up and get it going on our original scheduled date. We have some new banners that are going to be going up shortly. They're just in printing now, and that'll be great because our Christmas ones are still up. But we wanted to wait since we're launching the new program, and they're featuring some local art. There will be a seasonal one and for the summer, and then another art one for the winter fall. We've done a small mini brand refresh. So we haven't thrown the baby out with the bathwater, but we've taken our old logo and we're updating it. We have a new color palette, and that's going to be launched with our banners. And then you'll start to see that across all of our platforms and print and social media. And big part of that as well, we're using our Shop Local grant, and we also had it budgeted in to do a new website. Our website is kind of MacGyvered together and held with a Band-Aid, and every time it crashes, we're afraid we won't get it back up. So that's a huge, huge undertaking that we're doing this year. And that'll be some of the new brand refresh worked into that as well. We have a new sleep clinic that will be opening soon, selling BiPAPs, is that what they're called? That kind of stuff. The store next to me, Spot Cannabis, they've been busily hammering and painting and doing all kinds of stuff and anticipate opening at the end of this month. We have a new home store that's just opened. We are going to lose one of our bridal stores, unfortunately. As you all know, the whole bridal industry has been, the event industry and bridal industry has been pretty hard hit through this. We were and still are quite a destination for bridal stores and bridal businesses, but we're going to be going down one, unfortunately, in June. I think that is all I have to say. And like everybody else, I'll echo best wishes to Jennifer. And yeah, we'll miss you at the table. Be interesting to see who comes in and if we can help them get their green feet established. But good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. And last but not least, the Westdale Village, Tracy.
Okay, hi everybody. I'll be quick since we're getting late. Stony Creek, we had one vacancy that quickly got picked up with lots of interest. It's going to be another hair salon. We're getting ready for our market. We're trying to be very fluid for summer planning. Our focus is going to be trying to get us to be clean and green. We have thanks to Councillor Collins, we have the first electrical vehicle charging stations in any BIA. He got those installed. We've been doing some social media giveaways, and we're going to have some new banners coming.
And then over to Westdale, we had 2 closures, Pete and Kay Restaurant, who weren't really open much the last year, and a clothing shop, Laura's Walk-in Closet. Again, we've had lots of interest right away. And we have 5 spots that are actually being renovated. 2 were because of a fire, and then another one, a long-term tenant rolled out. So we have lots of interest before they're even done, so which is great to see. Trying to be fluid for planning this year. Anxiously waiting for our outdoor dining to open, starting a market, trying to be clean and green, and we're doing social media giveaways, and that's it.
Thank you, Tracy, for that. And well, before I move on, I want to say that I heard somebody say once that in life, we need someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to. And I want to say, directors, you've done a great job, and look forward to the opening of your small business. And I wish you all the best. I really do. Okay, we're going to have a mover and a seconder to receive the statements.
Moved by Tracy, seconded by Susan.
Thank you, and nobody's opposing to that, so we're going to go for the last 15, adjournment, and I need a seconder and a mover.
Jennifer and Rachel.
And thank you, and have a great morning. It's 9:30, the sun is shining.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
And thank
Bye.
you, Angela, for
Bye, Jennifer.
good luck.